We are here today to announce the results of an unprecedented international enforcement operation led by the FBI, known as Operation Spectre, against traffickers of fentanyl and other drugs who operate
Meanwhile,
on the
breaking
dark
out of a
web.
chokehold
Across
of the
the
dark
U.S.
web,
and 8 other
an
countries,
opioid chain
Operation
has found
Spectre
shattering down.
resulted in a total
The
of
U.S.
The UK's
Justice
National
Department has
Crime
announced
Agency
the
says
arrest
over
of
300 arrests have
Those
been made across
guns
the
could
country.
end up on what's called the dark
The
net.
takedown of the largest
online
dark web
network
shop
where criminals
chokehold of the dark web.
largest dark web shop
on the dark web.
against traffickers of fentanyl and other drugs who operate on the dark web.
What comes to mind when you hear the word darknet? What about the deep web? Is it the countless drugs market hiding just beneath the surface web? The hitmen and illegal websites that lurk just outside of the government's reach? Perhaps you'd even know that one unlisted video of your own YouTube channel, which, by all means, also considers itself part of this network. But beyond the stigmas and assumptions, what is it really? Should it even exist, and how far can I really go?
Maybe it's the best to start from the very beginning. In the mid-1990s, the US government grew increasingly concerned about privacy over the internet. To combat this problem, they created TOR, the Union Router. However, there was a problem. Government officials could not simply run their anonymous network exclusively for themselves due to a simple problem. As Roger Ding Dine, co-founder of the TOR project, states,
every time a connection came from it, people would say, oh, it's another CIA agent looking at my website.
And so in order to ensure total anonymity, TOR was released to the general public. The only way to access the deep web was to use tools and browsers such as TOR, and now the public could see it too.
Now, despite its infamous reputation, the deep web itself is not a sudden drop from irregular, highly moderated surface webs to red rooms, in short, torture rooms, and unordered hitman. Generally, it's divided into two parts, the deep web and the dark web. The deep web is far more commonplace than you'd think of, to the point that it's likely something you use in your day-to-day life. It consists of anything not indexed or searchable by search engines such as Google, which, yes, includes anything from your Google Docs to unlisted social media videos. Your private files don't exist on the surface web, but on the deep web. So if, up to this point, you've used any of those services, you've been really using the deep web. But then, of course, there's the other subsection of the deep web, the actual dark web.
I want to take you to Washington. We've got some breaking news. The U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has been joined by the Justice Department officials. They've just announced an international cybercrime enforcement action. This is against the dark web marketplace Alphabet. This is what he had to say shortly ago.
d'un film d'Hollywood. Un petit gars de Trois-Rivières, là. Le FBI qui perquisitionne, tu sais, ça se peut pas, là.
Le 5 juillet 2017, tout a changé.
Quand Alexandre Caz a été arrêté, il faisait face à 16 chefs d'accusation. C'était vraiment les États-Unis d'Amérique contre Alexandre Caz.
Picture yourself as Alpha 02, an IT specialist with knowledgeable in every topic from website development to encryption. And here you decide to create what will eventually become the largest dark web market. Founded and launched in September 2014, Alphabet was the darknet market operating on TOR, quickly gaining a considerable large user base of 14,000 with a mere 90 days of operation. This number would then soar around 200,000 users and 40,000 sellers by October of 2015. Services varied beyond the mere sales of drugs, ranging from stolen data including hundreds of credit cards and social security numbers to specialized malwares. In July of 2017, Alphabet will eventually be taken down by a multinational task force consisting of Thailand, the United States, and Canada as part of the Operation Battlenet. Its founders of Alpha 2, or rather Alexander Cassis, a Canadian citizen, was arrested in Bangkok home, his computer and other assets seized by the police forces. A few days after his arrest, Alexander was found dead in his jail cell, supposedly having committed suicide. This will mark the end of Alphabet at the time being, yet Alphabet was neither the first or last or only market of its kind. Silk Road, Incrono, Hansa, these markets are all rose and felt much like Alphabet did. And yet many more markets like them still remain in operation to this day. But this arguable isn't the worst who came out from the deep web. Unspoken honors that wouldn't have been given a single chance to show themselves on the surface web can be spotted anywhere on the darknet. Animal abuse and all forms of shocking content, human experiments streamed for entertainment, cannibalism, and of course drug market, like Alphabet. Perhaps the tales and rumors of dark web were all true along.
So, that's it, right? Maybe the deep web is worth keeping, but we should absolutely abolish the dark web. Maybe the world is better off without giving abhorrent people an environment to flourish in, right? Well, not quite. Not everyone on the dark web sets out to do horrible things. In fact, to this day, the dark web is still being utilized for its original purpose, to preserve the anonymity of users, albeit now for the whole world rather than just the CIA. In a world where targeted advertising, data theft, and broking, as well as intrusive data collection, are more abundant than ever on the surface web, the dark web may be one of the last places on the internet where users can find a sense of true privacy. And then there's whistleblowing, the act of exposing a government, corporation, or any other entity of committing illegal or ethically questionable acts. Whistleblowing often comes with harsh consequences for the whistleblower, including possible prosecution and becoming the target for the subject of their exposés. Take WikiLeaks, for example. It is arguably one of the most prominent publishers of leaked documents from governments and other entities, exposing various immoral acts, from the human rights violations at Guantanamo Bay to detailed internal reports and emails of the actions of the Syrian Assad regime. Their sources include various anonymous whistleblowers. While WikiLeaks' official website is accessible from the surface web, in order to submit information anonymously, users must send it via a Tor address. Doing so provides the aforementioned protection from prosecution and keeps whistleblowers' identities safe from the aforementioned consequences by keeping them anonymous. Simultaneously, it allows them to warn the world of the things they know. Through the dark web, these whistleblowers can disseminate information to the rest of the world while keeping their identities secret.
Now, then after all is said and done, the same question is asked again. Should the deep web even exist, given everything it's done, both good and bad? Given everything discussed at hand, yes, perhaps it should, because maybe our hatred is misdirected. The deep web's existence hasn't hurt us in any way. If anything, it's helping us, giving us more freedom of speech, and of course, allowing us to store documents and files without broadcasting them to the world. This doesn't mean that bad things don't happen on the darker side of the deep web, of course, but rather than denouncing its existence, perhaps the deep web should stay with us. And instead of directing all our fear and energy towards the negative stigmas of the deep web, we should focus on what we really can do against the criminals behind the screen who use the deep web for nefarious purposes. It's true, absolute anonymity will always come with a risk like this. But if we can rid the web, both the surface and deep parts of it, of terrible exploitative people like Alexandria cases, one at a time, step by step, then maybe one day we'll be able to see a world where the vast majority of people use the dark web for good rather than evil.